Good afternoon.
Ladies and gentlemen. I am Kanchi Shah, General Manager for Content Strategy at Strategy. And it gives me immense pleasure welcoming you all to the Pillars of Zero Trust Security virtual event on behalf of HashiCorp, Navius, and Strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, the migration to cloud means teams and organizations are rethinking how to secure their applications and infrastructure security in the cloud. This is being recast from static and IP based, defined by a perimeter, to dynamic and identity based with no clear perimeter. This idea is known as zero trust security. With this exclusive event, we aim to highlight how the zero trust security challenge is impacting enterprises and how HashiCorp's platform can help you manage secrets across multiple clouds and private data centers, enforce security with identity, and provide governance through policies. Ladies and gentlemen, we would request you to please address your questions to our speakers using the Q&A option on the screen. Also, towards the end of the event proceedings, we would request you to please fill out the feedback forms. We'd love to hear your feedback or suggestions. This will help us enhance the content, structure, and delivery of our conferences. And without any further ado, I'd like to bring in the first session this morning on multi-cloud security with HashiCorp Zero Trust approach. Let's welcome Mr. Suhan Shetty, Solutions Architect at Navius Solutions, to take us through this. Over to you, Suhan.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks, Kanchi. Thanks for the introduction you provided us. So my name is Suhan, as Kanchi mentioned. Today we're going to talk about the multi-cloud security with HashiCorp. Why multi-cloud? What's HashiCorp? All of these is something you would know. But what do we do, and why Hashi, and how has HashiCorp been helpful to us in our journey and our customers' journey? Is something what we're going to talk today. As you see my screen, I'm part of Nevius Solutions. We are recognized as a breakthrough partner for 2020. We were also an infrastructure specialized certified in Google. We have also application development specialization got this year now. As in the next slide, I want to take you through what Nevius is all about. We are basically a Google Cloud Premium partner who is located in south of India in Bangalore. And Udupi predominantly, we have our presence in Singapore and Delhi and Mumbai as well. We predominantly work with BFSI and healthcare customers. What does that mean is most of our customers are worried about their security, the security of their data, security of their infrastructure, their systems, and so on and so forth, right? Now, how do we cater to this? Now that's why they look at Nevius. Nevius is a complex business problem. We fix the complex business problems in cloud. We are a cloud-born company. We enable customers across enterprise. We talk about the digital natives who are born in cloud, or even the traditional patch as well. These are certain banking customers we have. If you look at the list of people, these are definitely, I'm sure you would have an account with them as well. You're looking at banks like ICICI, you're looking at banks like HDFC, you're looking at IDFC and LIC and all of that, right? And the best thing is you're also looking at NPCI. These are certain customers we work very closely with, right? Whether in terms of their application journey, their infrastructure journey, data journey, and all of that. Now, more on that, I'll probably have post this slide. But beyond BFSI, we also work with customers like Toyota, TVS, and Mahindra. If you look into cosmetics, you would know Health and Glow as well. If you're into probably you've seen cereals, you need Tata, DRLs, and all of that, right? Now, what why does the Mahindras of the world or ICS of the world look at Nevius, right? Nevius does five things really well. Now that's a core expertise as well. We do infrastructure modernization, which means to say we understand the customer's existing environment and give them a cloud native, scalable, auto healing sort of an environment. And then from an application modernization perspective, we look at monoliths and kind of help them scale them as per the customer's requirement, which helps them to have an optimized utilization. We also enable our customers with the data modernization journey. That means to say we understand data really well. We take the data from their on-premises or other CSPs, bring them into Google, see to that the data asset of the customer is scaling, is able to give them the analytics they want and all of that, right? Now, after this entire journey, right, what we also see generally is once infra is up and running, once applications are set in the infra and the data is being generated, they would want to see, is my entire premises secure, right? The second thing is, once if it is secure, is it reliable? These are paramount questions we generally answer out, right? Now, I would deep dive into these questions a little later, but I would also want to talk about what are the different scenarios we generally meet, right? Our customers have challenges such as if I come to, for example, I'll take an example of a BFSI customer here, right? A BFSI customer who he wants to have a journey where he wants to abstract his infrastructure. That means to say he wants to look at a model where whether he goes into uh, AWS or GCP or Azure, any CSP or even on-premises for that matter, he wants to see to that the infrastructure in each of these are created in based on demand and based on requirement, rather than creating it manually by a person. So he wants to look at an infrastructure as a code sort of a journey, right? Now, if he's built this infrastructure as a code, where does the critical resources like the secrets, the credentials, and all of these are stored? This is a key question for him. The second aspect, even if this infrastructure is up and running, right? How do somebody get access to this setup? Is there a certain perimeter sort of a thing? Can I put it? Can we create a boundary around this infrastructure? These are certain questions that our customers are asking us, right? I will also give you another example here. We have customers from a microfinance who's really worried that who are the people who are accessing my infrastructure or my application, right? A general answer would be say, can we look at a VPN based structure? Can we look at, private public sort of a structure? Can we authorize our customers on in the HTTP? Now, this is something we don't want to do, right? Simply because the VPN is a layer 4 kind of a setup. Can we do it at a layer 7? Can we do it in such a way that we can automate this boundary as well? These are certain questions people are asking on. But if you really look at it, the kind of question they're really asking here is, can I really trust the people who are accessing my infrastructure? Can I really trust the people who are accessing my application? Can I really trust the people who are looking into my data, right? This is exactly what we do as part of our SOC team. We use tools from HashiCorp, which deals with creation of secret managers or encrypting our data or creating probably using boundaries to put a virtual perimeter around our infrastructure and application. We use things like Console for even abstracting our network. We are using Terraform to even build these infrastructures, right? Now, who is building such products? What is zero trust? Why does it really matter for an enterprise? I think these are questions which are which is we would want to hand it over to HashiCorp to answer, and I have Nitin today to do that. And before I go there, I would probably tell our journeys with with the banks I talked about, right? Now, Bellstar is one of a very popular customer. We are looking at ICICI Lombard. We have a journey with application modernization. We have IFL, where we built a completely an application journey for them. Whereas from ICICI Bank, we might have we built a completely 360-degree VRM tool for them. Or ICICI Prudential, for that matter, we built an APG journey for them, which is an application gateway. Or LIC, for that matter. LIC is where we built a loan platform, which is called Homey, which is one of very popular app as well. Uh, Now, when we work with this diverse, data-centric, customer-centric, resource-intensive sort of workload, and we want to fix the zero trust problem, who do we look towards? So, without taking much ado, I would want to hand it over to Nitin. Nitin, do let us know what is zero trust, why do we need it, and what are the key, what does HashiCorp has in the box to navigate us through this problem? So, over to you, Nitin.
Thank you very much, Suhan, for that enriching and insightful presentation. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to bring in the next one, which is on zero trust security. Trust nothing, authenticate and authorize everything. To take us through this one, we have with us Mr. Nitin Kelvekar, who is the partner, Solutions Engineering at HashiCorp. Let's welcome you.
Okay, thanks Suhan and team for setting up the whole context, and I welcome and thanks for everyone today who have joined us for this webinar. As you heard and would have seen, the whole theme today is basically on the zero trust security, especially on when you are migrating or you are not on your you're on your multi-cloud journey, right? So before I start, I'd like to quickly introduce myself. So I'm Nitin Kelvikar. I'm the partner solutions engineer for HashiCorp in India. So I lead the technology and the engineering efforts from a partner standpoint. And about HashiCorp, I'm sure you would have already heard about HashiCorp, not if not as a brand, but I'm sure as a tool, a lot of your employees, a lot of your practitioners, a lot of your developers would have been already deployed and have been using a lot of HashiCorp technology, right? So just to introduce, we have solutions or tools across 4 different workflows, wherein each organization today whom we speak with have made HashiCorp as one of the tool that helps address those four different workflows in the environment, right? So the way we've deployed or the way we have made these tools available to the community is predominantly being open source. So if you are talking to your app development team or your infrastructure team, or could be a DevOps team or SRE team, they would be in one on other format using at least one of these tools from HashiCorp today, right? So that makes our stance in the overall customers and organizations very strong, because now that they have already used our open source, they are in a journey to make it more scalable. And the way we do it today is a lot of customers have adopted our framework called as cloud operating model, which basically helps customers in setting up the taking the right steps towards their end goal of addressing each of these challenges in their environment, right? So as I said, our tools have been usually get downloaded millions and millions of time in a week or in a month, right? We are very strong about these tool sets because they have been used by a lot of contributors, because of the the whole open source community that is backing our development teams and giving the right inputs, which actually helps solve the trivial challenges that the custom practitioners will face. And that's when I said these tools become a very strong tool set for the organizations, right? So quickly about Nevius and HashiCorp journey today, right? So we've started our journey recently in India, and we've seen a lot of success, especially when it comes to the Terraform and the Vault platforms. So one of the reasons we are doing this joint webinar today is because to talk on how each and every platform of HashiCorp helps address that whole zero trust security problem, right? And if you're joining us today, I'm sure that means zero trust security is one of the key challenge that you are facing within your organization today, and that's when you are here to listen to our discussion today on the pillars of zero trust security, right? So before I start on exactly what those pillars are, right, I also wanted to set up a context here, and as I mentioned earlier, the whole reason for you taking out your time and joining this webinar today is because you understand the value of cybersecurity in your environment, right? And just to set up the context, when we in 2019, when we did a survey, like there was a survey done, and it was found that almost like around $6 trillion estimated losses for organizations in 2021 alone, right? And you would completely agree with me here, because of the whole remote workforce and whole because of the pandemic thing, these cybersecurity attacks have exponentially increased in the last 2 or 3 years or so, right? So how does that fit in for our customers, right? So just to again give another example, in the last 10 years we've seen like almost more than 20 companies have experienced a lot of data breaches, which costed them around almost like more than $1 million, right? And 90% of those companies are today using one of a product or one of a tool called as HashiCorp Vault, right? So I'll talk about how each of those solutions help address those help form the pillars for the overall zero trust security challenge that you are facing today in your organization, right? So before I go to the exact pillars, right, I want to also give a quick set up the context, saying that what was working fine earlier and how securing your data center was easy when we talk 3 years, 4 years, 5 years back, right? Because everything was in your data center. Uh, 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 all that the security was defined was at your firewall or at a perimeter level security, wherein once the connection is established inside your network, there is the east west north south, like north south traffic is completely free, and the communication just happens internally without any segregation of even if there's some malicious threat or activity that happens inside your data center, right? But moving forward, in the current scenario, when we move from the traditional data center to a more dynamic, more cloud centric data centers in the form of either private cloud or native clouds as well, we've seen there's a dynamic shift in the way the security has changed, right? So earlier, as I said, it was more of a static IP based, connection based security. Now it is more dynamic by the virtue that I can say that your applications could be on one cloud, your databases could be sitting on premises, right? So the way the whole modern data center or the effects of digital transformation, the security has to be seen through a different angle altogether, right? So just to summarize, how it worked in the traditional data center world, as I said, the security was mostly from a network firewall and a very perimeter centric security that organizations used to take care, right? But when they move to a modern data center, or they move to a cloud or maybe a multi-cloud approach, those IP-based restrictions, IP-based security, it definitely is falling short, and that's when we've seen those kind of an uptick or upsurge in the number of cybersecurity attacks that we've seen across different verticals and different industries, right? So this migration to cloud also, sets the context for our discussion. As I said, it's no longer one single cloud. A lot of our customers, a lot of our organizations have already taken the multi-cloud approach, and mm, again, we can debate that over a separate topic or a separate time. But yeah, multi-cloud, or having a multiple options of where your application or your database, or where your actual application logic resides. It has now spread into multi-cloud environments, for sure, right? If not now, I'm sure in the next 6 months, 1 year, if you're not already started your multi-cloud journey, you would be thinking about that in the near future as well, right? So coming to the zero trust architecture, right, or the zero trust security that we are trying to address, right? We've HashiCorp has, we put them in 4 different pillars. So the one is machine authorization and authentication and authorization. Second is machine to machine access. Third is human to machine access, and then human authorization and authentication, right? So all of these 4 pillars are strongly based on the matter of fact that I said, we no longer have the policies based on the static IP based, but it is mostly the identity driven controls, or identity driven policies that is required for the multi-cloud, in the multi-cloud journey, right? So I'll definitely go on talking about each and every pillar here. But before I jump into each and all of those pillars, I just wanted to do a quick check of how many of you actually saw or understood what the whole zero trust security meant like, right? So if you guessed, or if you mentioned that trust nothing, authenticate and authorize everything, that's correct, right? So you're correct. So that's what the whole zero trust security principle is based upon. Trust nothing, authenticate and authorize everything, and at every layer and at every step, right? That's what the zero trust security, that's how the zero trust security architecture looks like today, right? So moving on with the first with the first pillar here, that is machine authentication and authorization. So how does HashiCorp help solve this basic problem of machine authorization and authentication and authorization, right? So we have a unique or a security tool set called as HashiCorp Vault. So HashiCorp Vault started off with being just a plain simple secrets management tool which helped developers back when we started back in 2015, as just managing the controls to your secrets, which could be in the form of tokens, passwords, certificates, encryption keys, and so on and so forth, right? So this tool, this simple secrets management tool, helped in the authentication and authorization. It acted as one of the security or the identity brokers, and now has evolved now today as we speak as a full-fledged secrets management data encryption as a service, providing advanced data protection. And the way it manages is it still goes back to the same methodology of Vault being acting as a identity broker between by authenticating with your existing systems, authorizing the systems, and then adding an extra layer of security of access based on whether it's a user, it's a client, or it's a machine who's trying to access a particular resource or a tool, right? So this has been a very powerful tool. A lot of our organizations, especially in BFSI sector and across different fintechs and other sectors, have been have already started using today as an open source, and they are also in the journey of migrating to full-fledged enterprise versions as well. So as I said, the guiding principle behind Vault still remains the same. That I said, that the security is no longer IP based or point-to-point connection based. We have we look at the security when it comes to Vault from an identity-based access or identity-based authorization and authentication and authorization layer, right? So with any of your existing identity providers, Vault can sit and Vault sits in front of it and authenticates, authorizes, and adds an extra layer of security by providing secrets management. Not only the basic secret management, like we also the static secret management, we also have the dynamics, and as I said earlier, the advanced data protection, encryption as a service, and all those key features which helps set the right workflows into your multi-cloud cyber security journey, right? So as I mentioned, that was about how Vault helps address the machine authentication and authorization, right? So moving on to the machine-to-machine access, right? So when it comes to machine-to-machine access, you would have seen again, going back to the earlier traditional data center word, when I talked about how traditionally organizations were using perimeter-based solutions, right? But now with the networks getting spread across to your multi-cloud, multi-environments, having a service networking across multiple clouds becomes a very important solution that a lot of our customers are looking for, right? And that's when the HashiCorp console comes into picture, which is nothing but it comes into your multi-cloud environment and helps provide an automated and secure network infrastructure automation in the form of acting as a service discovery, as basic as that, health monitoring, and then acting as a multi-cloud platform service mesh, and then as simple as a network infrastructure automation solution as well, right? So if you remember, I talked about the security being implied only between north-south traffic. Console comes into picture and helps address even your east-west traffics as well, wherein it avoids the lateral damages that happen because of any system getting impacted, or a networker getting access into one system and then attacking the other resources into your other resources within your network, right? So what we've seen is a lot of these cloud providers would have some kind of a native service mesh capabilities, but Console extends the service mesh capabilities across multi-cloud environment, right? So your applications, your resources could be deployed across any cloud, any environment, and the multi-cloud service mesh of using Console will help you in the service to service connection, having a secured service to service connection, authorization at every step, as going back to the same zero trust security principles, and then encryption at each and every step when the two services or two applications are communicating between each other, right? So as I said, the guiding principles of Console remain the same. As I mentioned earlier, we are trying to decouple the networking security, which are tied completely in the traditional world from an IP based to mostly an app to app based, or a service based security in the especially in the multi-cloud environment that most of the organizations are using today, right? So that covers the machine to machine access challenge, security challenge that a lot of organizations face today, right? Moving on to the other hand, moving to the other hand of the spectrum, that is human authentication and authorization. This particular problem that we see have been sort of being fairly managed with a lot of existing vendors or existing technology providers, wherein customers have now basically using user identity based authentication, wherein back in the days, as I said, in the traditional world, customers or organizations were using user identity completely tied with their on premises Active Directory, LDAP, and all those systems. But with the cloud solution or the cloud native vendors like Ping, Okta, Azure AD, the challenge of user identity and authorization in the form of cloud, migrating to cloud and SSO, has been taken care by a lot of these technology partners that we have in today, right? So that brings me to the another pillar of the zero trust architecture, is basically the human to machine access, and which is basically a very important step, because as I said, because of the remote working, because of the whole pandemic, employees are now working from anywhere, from home, anywhere. Your applications are across any cloud. But once the user is authenticated and wants an access to a particular machine or a system, how do you manage that? How do you manage that security, right? So before going into the exact scenario on how we handle that, HashiCorp Boundary is a tool set that a lot of customers have been using today to address this particular challenge of how do you simply and securely manage the remote access to the users, right? So this is a very important topic, and this is of my personal interest as well, because if you see the kind of the kind of strategies or the announcement that we see, especially from the government of India, they've actually banned the uses of VPNs in the government organizations in India, right? So that puts basically the importance on why these traditional VPN based tools are falling short, and why they are not one of the secure options when you are trying to address the challenge of user to machine access in your environments, right? So before I go there, as I said, let me walk you through the traditional workflow and the access, right? So what typically happens in the traditional world is the user gets onboarded to the organization based on the regardless of whatever the profile of the user is, right? the first thing that the IT team gives access to the user is a full-fledged VPN access, right? And that's very bad. And it's not only bad, but setting up the whole VPN infrastructure, configuring it, onboarding a new user is a very difficult challenge for the IT teams as well, right? But the most critical thing you see is in case of VPN is once the user gets into the network, he or she has access to all the applications, right? Literally all the applications the user has access to, right? Which becomes very easy for a malware or an attacker, right? Or a threat vector. Once they get access to this this network via a VPN, right? They can hack or attack any of your internal system because everything is just an IP based or probably few domain or subnet based accesses that security policies that you would have configured, right? And further to make it more complex, once these credentials get exposed, you literally have no controls on who is the user, what are they trying to access, which application, and there's no absolute no track record at all, right? So when I move to the modern world, so when I move to the dynamic workflow for the access, which is what HashiCorp recommends today, right? The user gets onboarded, but completely based on the user's login and identity. So as I said again, identity-based access. Again, the authentication and authorization using the SSO or the existing authentication mechanisms, right? The user is now given access to the resources, to the machines only based on their roles, right? So if a developer gets access to is onboarded, he or she is given specific access to the servers or to the critical or to the network infrastructure based on her or his role, right? And if a new user, let's say a person from marketing or sales joins an organization, his or her access is limited based on his role, and they don't get the entire access to the entire network, right? So this means that we are creating profiles, we are creating auth based roles so that only limited network access or limited applications or resources are getting exposed to those particular users, right? And to make it more automated, uh, the whole boundary technology that I talked about, you can you can integrate this with our Vault solution that I talked about earlier, and which makes sure that the credentials are not exposed to the actual end user, right? So this is how the entire HashiCorp boundary and Vault together can address the challenge of, even if the attacker is or the malicious threat is inside your network, he or she cannot penetrate further within the network, because the resources or the access is limited completely based on the authentication and authorization which they would have done with once they authenticate with boundary, and then the resource that they are trying to access is limited in the form of because the credentials are not exposed directly to the users, and it is completely a temporary ephemeral tokens that the user is assigned to from our Vault platform, right? So if you see this whole workflow, this is a very important workflow when it comes to the security architecture, because as I said, most of the malicious activity, most of the cybersecurity threats are coming from the endpoints, the end users, and they are trying to attack and exploit the internal resources and resources from the different infrastructure or different resources that you have in your organizations, right? So, as I said, boundary has a very, very important key goals, right? So this, one of the key goal of boundary is again goes back to the ties back to our zero trust security principle that I talked about. Trust nothing, authorize and authenticate everything at every point, right? So the on-demand access is just over the flow on demand, right? It's not that by default you trust the user when they have access to your network, right? Dynamic environment, it's very easy and flexible to use. And because Boundary was also open source was all in our open source platform, and we very recently got an enterprise version. We just made a launch a beta version of it. A lot of customers and a lot of organizations and a lot of practitioners have already deployed Boundary, and they are able to they are already using within your environments as well today, right? So that basically summarizes the four key pillars for the zero trust security that I wanted to cover, right? So again, to repeat, in the modern world, you have to have security based on identity driven controls and no longer the IP based or point to point based security, right? And the four key pillars, as I mentioned: machine authorization and authentication with Vault, machine to machine access with Console, human to machine access control with Boundary. And then for single sign on, you already have like a lot of organizations have already invested in a lot of single sign-on tools and technologies, and we integrate directly with them. So in a nutshell, what HashiCorps provide to you is basically we try to reduce the attack surface at each and every spectrum of let's say, even if the adversary or a hacker gets into your gets or tries or gets into your network and tries to do some malicious activity at each and every step, like right from your initial access to privilege escalation to having to having and authenticating or escalating the privileges, right, to stopping the lateral movements with Console and Vault, and then trying and blocking the exfiltration attack with Console and Boundary. Sorry, Console and Vault is something that HashiCorps helps you to reduce the entire attack surface by ensuring that you have the right workflows in the form of Boundary, Vault, and Console within your organizations, right? So with that, I just wanted to quickly highlight that each of these technology or each of the workflows that I talked about are today available as either self-managed, wherein you get to deploy these tools internally within your within any infrastructure that you prefer to choose. Or we also have HashiCorp Cloud Platform, which helps organizations in moving ahead with their challenges that they are facing because of the scaling. Because they are scaling, they are trying to have a more collaborative way of using these technology or tools, and then having a centralized governance and central policies wherein you have a central you have a company wide or organization wide framework with all these security policies and tools within your organization, right? And that's a very important. I also wanted to highlight that, when you are moving, or when you are scaling or ramping up your organizations and your technologies, you would need support of tools like the things like the tools that I talked from HashiCorp, and definitely services and the expertise in the form of Nevius here today, who are one of our expert partners, who are jointly working us with a lot of BFSI organizations and other organizations from different verticals as well. So if you are facing any of these challenges specific, maybe you're already an open source user of any of the HashiCorp tools or platforms, and you want to scale them, you want to have a enterprise grade policy and governance to help address those security challenges, feel free to reach out to your Nevius counterparts, or feel free to reach out to our HashiCorp teams, and we'll be happy to have a one-on-one separate discussions with you and your team, along with Nevius, to assess your organization, to assess your environment, and then help build a custom solution or deliverables for your organization, right? So that brings me to the end of our discussion today, but we are happy to extend and open up now for questions and questions. If you have any, feel free to throw them on the question and answer window, and we'll be happy to address them today.
Thank you very much, Nitin, for that powerful and brilliant session. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it's a wrap. I hope you found today's conference on the pillars of zero trust security informative and useful. I would request you to please take a few moments of your time and fill in the feedback form. Please do feel free to mention any suggestions or recommendations that you have for us. Your feedback is invaluable to us and will help us enhance the structure, delivery, and content of our conference. We thank you all once again for joining us today on behalf of HashiCorp, Navius, and Strategy. We also look forward to welcoming you at our upcoming conferences. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and do enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Good afternoon, all. Please note our panel of experts is available for question and answers for the next 10 minutes. Please post your queries on the chat Q&A to get them answered. Thank you. Dear all, thank you for joining. We are concluding the webinar. Please fill the feedback form while logging off. Thank you.